the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Please be seated. I have 4 nephews who are ages 6 to 10, and I remember way back when the older boys were just about 3, we went to Burger King for lunch, both families, so all 4, there were only 2 boys at that time, but both families, my parents, the 2 boys, and Burger King, we go there because there's a big 2-story jungle gym inside so that the boys can run around and hopefully get tired out and be a little calmer the rest of the day. And they're just about age 3, and Andrew climbs up to the top of this thing and then shouts as loudly as he can, "I am the king of the world," which resulted in the next hour or so of he and his cousin TJ arguing about who was the king of the world. Human beings have hierarchy and status just built into who we are. It matters to us. It's expressed all over our culture in all sorts of ways. It's just a reality of how we are made. So it's maybe no surprise that the disciples get into this argument about who is the greatest, who is going to be in charge when the kingdom of God finally is ushered in by Jesus the Messiah. And what an argument that must have been, if you think about it. You've got James and John, who figure they must be pretty high up in the pecking order of the disciples because Jesus had invited them up on the mountaintop for that big transfiguration experience with Elijah and Moses. Peter chimes in and says, well, he was there on the mountaintop as well, and in addition, he had enough faith that he was able to walk on water. Simon the Zealot is still convinced that Jesus is the kind of Messiah who's going to raise up an army and overthrow the Romans. Simon has some experience with weapons and real revolutionary zeal, and he figures that's going to make him valuable in the coming kingdom. Matthew the tax collector is very proud of his connections with the Roman authorities and with social elites. He figures that'll be helpful in establishing a new social order, and so it goes. They get to the house, and Jesus asks them what it is they were arguing about there on the road. And I just can picture them kind of looking down at their feet and not really wanting to meet Jesus' eyes and shuffling back and forth, because they realize if they tell him what it was that they were arguing about, it's probably going to disqualify them for greatness in Jesus' eyes. Jesus kind of intuits what it was they were talking about, and he says that if you want to be great, you have to be last. The last are the ones who will be first in the kingdom. And they're still puzzling out what that means when Jesus sees a small child, picks them up, and says, whoever welcomes one child in my name welcomes me, and whoever welcomes me welcomes the one who sent me. It's hard, I think, for modern ears to understand how absolutely topsy-turvy, world upside-down turning that statement is. In the ancient world, in the Roman world, children were not viewed as fully human. Parents were well within their rights to brutally punish them, even abandon unwanted children in the wilderness to die. It's hard for us to understand it. It's hard for us to believe it, but that was the reality. Things in Jewish society were a little better, but not much. Children were not considered important religiously. They didn't count towards the minyan in the synagogue, for instance. They were not considered fully human yet until they became adults. For Jesus to suggest that the children come first was absolutely revolutionary, absolutely countercultural in his day. We take from this lesson a reminder that all the things that we think make us important, all the things that give us status, all the things that help us relate to one another are really not the way that God looks at the world. And I think that's a good reminder for us. We're still going to have all that stuff because, as I said, it's built into what it means to be human, for better or worse. But it isn't the way that God looks at the world. I think there are 2 more things that we can take from this lesson. First, if you want to find Jesus, if you want to find God, if you want to know what Jesus looks like, go seek out those who have been forgotten, those who are last, those who are on the margins. And there you will have a sense of what Jesus looks like. Jesus is already working with and through those people. If you want to see Jesus, if you want to see God, go and search those that we have forgotten, that society has pushed to the edges. You probably have seen on the news or read 2-year-old boy, Brody Allen, in Cincinnati, who was born with a rare form of brain cancer that doctors have determined is not treatable. He doesn't have very long to live. His parents are trying to figure out how to make the best of his short life. Decided this month that they would celebrate Christmas because they don't think he will make it till Christmas. And they started putting up decorations in their house and realized they didn't quite have enough. And so they put out a plea on Facebook. Christmas decorations were not yet in the stores. Put out a plea on Facebook, and people just responded, as you can imagine, in droves. Boxes and boxes of Christmas decorations showed up on their doorstep. The neighbors got wind of what was going on and decided they would decorate their houses as well. The woman next door took down all of her fall decorations and put up Christmas decorations. Now the whole neighborhood has Christmas lights twinkling. They take Brody out in a wagon and walk him around the neighborhood so you can see the decorations. And today they're having a huge Christmas parade complete with Santa Claus and a fire truck, and superheroes, and everybody wants in on the fun to make life better for Brody. You see God working through this story. I haven't seen any reports that these are people of faith, but I believe that God is working through the people in the neighborhood. It's working through Brody to bring out the best in folks. God is working with those on the margins of society, those who make it last. Another thing that we can take from this lesson, if you want to see where God has been most present in your life, look back to those times when you have felt forgotten, when you have felt on the margins, when you have felt last, when you have been down on your luck. Maybe it was the end of a relationship or the death of a loved one. Maybe it was a bad habit that became an addiction that started to drag you under. Maybe it was any sorts of serious illness that was threatening your life and making your life miserable. In those experiences, God is present. God was present in the folks who came to help you. God was present in the love that was shown for you by your friends and your family. God was present in the silence when you felt alone, giving you the strength that you needed to get through those experiences. There's a Chinese folktale that doesn't speak in the language of the Christian faith, but I think it's at this as well. A woman loses her young daughter, dies at a very young age. And in her grief, she goes to the holy man in the village and she begs him to bring her daughter back to life. And the holy man thinks for a couple of minutes and then he says to her, "Go and find the house without sorrow. And when you find in that house the magic mustard seed and bring that back to me. And with that, we will have the power to bring your daughter back to life." The woman thinks for a moment, and she goes to the largest, fanciest house in their village, figuring that would be the place without sorrow. She knocks on the door, and she explains what she's looking for, and the people who answer the door shake their heads sadly and tell her all of their tales of woe, all of the losses they've experienced in their life, all of the grief that they are dealing with. And she thinks maybe she could be helpful, and so she stays with them for a few days and listens to their stories and tries to comfort them. After a while, continues on her search, which takes her across China to the palaces and to the hovels, where she looks for the home without sorrow. She never finds it, because every house she comes to has experienced sorrow, has experienced grief, and she finds that she stays for a while in each of those houses to help out, to listen, to be some comfort in the moments of grief and sorrow. And in that way, her own grief doesn't rule her life anymore. It becomes what she has to offer. Her experience of grief, it becomes what she has to offer to others. It becomes the way she defines herself. And rather than wanting her daughter back, she's able to give something to others. She's able to become more fully human, more fully who she is meant to be. It's a great reminder, this story, about our sense of status and importance being different from God's sense of status and importance. It's a reminder of where to look for God in our world, where to look for God in our own lives. I pray that we may remember that as we look for God on the margins of our society, as we look to God with those with whom we minister with, as we look for God in our own